Excuse me. Excuse me. Sally Rose's voice sliced through the chamber like a blade. She stepped directly into the path of a black woman in burgundy. The woman had been walking toward the champagne fountain. Sally's Cartier bracelet glinted as she raised her hand. "What exactly are you doing at the donor tables?" The woman stopped. Her voice came out steady, dangerous in its calm. "I'm a guest." Sally's laugh was sharp enough to draw blood. "A guest? Sweetheart, this is a $20,000 per seat event, not a community outreach program." She looked the woman up and down, slowly, making sure everyone nearby could see her disgust. "Did someone let you slip through? Because whoever helped you won't have a job by morning." The woman didn't flinch. "I belong here." "Belong?" Sally turned to the watching crowd. Designer gowns, tuxedos that cost more than mortgages, diamonds catching chandeliers. "Look around, honey. Do you see anyone here who looks like, well, like you?" Silence rippled outward. 50 people, then 100. All eyes on the woman in burgundy. Sally snapped her fingers. Jeffrey Ayala. Security, get this woman out of the Fox Theater before she embarrasses herself further." Jeffrey Ayala appeared, tall, black, ex-military. He looked at Sally, then at the woman. His jaw tightened. "Madam, I'm going to have to—" "No, you're not." A man's voice, deep, carrying billions. A black man in Tom Ford stepped beside the woman. 6'2", Patek Philippe watch. He placed his hand on her shoulder. Sally's face went white. "Mr. Olson," she stammered. Clearly. The woman in burgundy smiled. Penny Morgan smiled. "Have you ever watched someone destroy their entire world in 60 seconds? 6 hours earlier, Dr. Penny Morgan peeled off her surgical gloves. The operating room clock read 1:47 p.m. 16 hours straight. Her scrubs were soaked through with sweat. Vitals stable, doctor." The nurse's voice carried relief. Patients responding beautifully. Penny flexed her fingers. Another heart saved. Another family that wouldn't get the call. She stripped off her mask in the scrub room. Her phone sat in her locker. 3 missed calls, all from the same name. Ralph Leonard, her husband. The heart emoji she'd added 3 years ago mocked her now. One text glowed on the screen. "Don't come to the gala tonight. I'll handle the networking. This is firm business. You'd feel out of place." Penny sat hard on the metal bench. Cold seeped through her scrubs. 3 years ago, she'd married Ralph Leonard at Atlanta City Hall. Just them, a judge, her brother Mitch as witness. Ralph had held both her hands, looked into her eyes with what she'd believed was love. "I want to keep this private, protect you from the pressure. My family's complicated, the firm's political. You understand, right?" She'd smiled then, believed him, loved him enough to become his secret. The first Thanksgiving, she ate Chinese takeout alone in their Midtown apartment. Ralph video called from his mother's house in Buckhead. Behind him, laughter, warmth, the smell of turkey she could almost taste through the screen. "There's just so many people here, baby. You'd be overwhelmed. Next year, I promise." Next year never came. Christmas arrived. She bought him a Rolex. $12,000, wrapped it in silver paper with a red bow. "Wear this to your family's party. I want them to see you thinking of me." He'd kissed her forehead, made excuses. The watch stayed in its box. 8 months ago, his mother Claire turned 68. Penny spent 3 weeks finding the perfect gift. A vintage Chanel bag. $18,000. Hand-delivered to Claire's Tuxedo Road mansion. "I'll say it's from me," Ralph promised. "Next time you can give it yourself." Next time was a lie he'd perfected. Last month she'd seen the text on his phone. He'd left it on the kitchen counter, screen face up. Careless or cruel? Maybe both. Ashley? No. Josephina Olsen. Dinner reservations at Bacchanalia. Hotel bookings at the St. Regis. Heart emojis that used to belong only to Penny. She'd confronted him that night. His face had gone pale, then defensive. "She's a colleague. You're being paranoid. I work with her on the senator's campaign. That's all." But Penny knew lies. She'd spent 3 years learning to recognize them in every text, every excuse, every holiday spent alone. Now, sitting in the Piedmont Hospital locker room, She pulled out her phone, dialed the number she'd been avoiding. "Mitch, I've made a decision." Her brother's voice came through, warm, concerned, knowing. "What decision?" "I'm going to the gala tonight, with you." Silence. Then a slow exhale. "It's about damn time, Penny. I've been waiting 3 years for you to say that." Penny drove her old Toyota Camry home through Atlanta traffic, past Piedmont Park, where couples walk dogs, past the High Museum, where she'd never been invited to galas with Ralph's family, past Colony Square, where she'd once imagined shopping with a mother-in-law who pretended she didn't exist. The apartment was empty. Ralph's tuxedo hung in the closet, the one he'd wear tonight to impress people while pretending his wife was invisible. She opened her own closet. Past the scrubs and jeans, she found it. The burgundy gown. She'd bought it 3 years ago for their courthouse wedding. Too fancy for City Hall. But she'd wanted to feel beautiful, wanted to feel seen. She'd never worn it. Ralph had suggested something simpler, something that wouldn't draw attention. Tonight felt different. Her phone buzzed. "Mitch, picking you up at 5:30. Wear something that reminds them you're not someone to dismiss." She held the burgundy gown up to the mirror, the color of wine, of blood, of reckoning. If you've ever hidden parts of yourself to make someone comfortable, you know what that gown meant. Comment below if you've ever been told you're too much for someone's world. At 5:15, she zipped herself into the dress. It fit like armor. She pulled her hair into a high bun. Simple diamond studs, the ones her father gave her before he died. Red lipstick, the color of courage. Her reflection stared back, a woman who'd saved 247 lives. A woman worth $2.1 billion who'd let herself be treated like a secret. Not anymore. The black Mercedes S-Class pulled up at exactly 5:30. Mitch stepped out, 6'2", custom suit, the kind of presence that commanded rooms without saying a word. He looked at his sister and smiled. "They have no idea what's coming." "Good," Penny said. "Let's keep it that way." The Mercedes glided down Peachtree Street, past Lenox Square, where Sally Rose probably shopped, past Phipps Plaza, where Ralph's colleagues lunched, past Buckhead Village, where his world existed without her. "You sure about this?" Mitch asked, his hand steady on the wheel. "I've been sure for 3 years. I was just waiting for the right moment. And tonight's the moment. Tonight's the reckoning. If you're watching this and you've ever been hidden, erased, or told you don't belong, hit that subscribe button for Black Unmoved Gavel. Because silence protects the wrong people. And we're done being silent." The Mercedes turned onto Peachtree Street. The Fox Theater rose ahead, marquee lights blazing, red carpet rolled out, cameras flashing. Atlanta's elite arriving in their German cars and designer everything. Mitch pulled to the valet stand. Attendants in white gloves rushed forward. He stepped out first. The whisper started immediately. "That's Mitch Olson, the billionaire. Olson Medical Corporation." Mitch extended his hand. Penny took it. She emerged from the Mercedes like she owned the night. The burgundy gown caught every light. Every eye, every camera. "Who is that?" Mitch Olson just arrived with, "My God, look at that dress." Inside the Fox Theater, the grand ballroom dripped with old money. Crystal chandeliers throwing light across marble floors, white-gloved servers carrying champagne. 300 guests in designer everything discussing portfolios and second homes and charitable deductions. Sally Rose stood near the entrance, greeting guests, playing hostess, building her kingdom one handshake at a time. She saw Mitch immediately. Her face lit up with practiced charm. Then her eyes slid to Penny. Recognition flickered. Then something cold, something ugly, something about to cost her everything. Have you ever walked into a room and known your presence would shatter someone's carefully built world? Drop a comment, share this story, tag someone who needs to see what happens when the hidden decide to be seen. Sally glided forward, hand extended toward Mitch. She ignored Penny completely at first. Then her gaze slid over, lingered. Something shifted in her expression. "Mr. Olson, what an honor." Her voice dripped honey laced with poison. "And this is my sister," Mitch said. His voice carried weight, authority. "Dr. Penny Morgan." Sally's smile froze, cracked at the edges. "Your sister, of course." She looked at Penny properly now, up and down, assessing, judging, finding her wanting. "Penny, what a surprise." "Hello, Sally." Penny's voice stayed level. "I wasn't aware you'd be attending." Sally's tone made it clear, not a welcome, an accusation. Ralph didn't mention it, I wanted to surprise him. Sally's laugh sounded like breaking glass. Well, you'll certainly do that. Other guests gathered, sensing blood in the water, drama worth more than the champagne they held. A woman in emerald silk leaned toward her husband, her whisper carried. Isn't that Ralph Leonard's wife? The one nobody ever sees? I heard she's not exactly appropriate for their circles. Another voice added. Sally heard them, her spine straightened. She stepped closer to Penny, voice dropping to a stage whisper, loud enough for 30 people to hear. Darling, these tables are reserved for club members and major donors. The general seating is back there. She waved toward the rear, near the kitchen doors, where staff entered. Mitch's jaw tightened. Penny is my immediate family. She sits at table 1, with me. Sally's eyes flashed. Of course, Mr. Olson, but surely you understand we have protocols, standards to maintain. She looked pointedly at Penny. Not everyone fits our particular environment. The words hung there, poison wrapped in politeness. Penny felt every eye on her, felt the weight of being reduced, dismissed, erased in front of 300 witnesses. Then a voice cut through. Sally, there you are. Ralph Leonard's voice, smooth, practiced. The voice that had whispered, I love you, while hiding her for 3 years. He walked toward them, smiling, confident. Josephina Olson on his arm, blonde, beautiful, white, wearing red. Her hand tucked possessively into Ralph's elbow. Ralph's smile died the moment he saw Penny. His face went white, then red, then white again. If you've ever seen someone's lies catch up to them in real time, you know that look. Hit the like button if you're here for the reckoning, because it's coming. Josephina kept smiling, oblivious. Ralph, aren't you going to introduce me to your colleague? Sally seized the moment like a weapon. Ralph, perfect timing. Your wife decided to surprise us. The way she said wife dripped disdain. Though I was just explaining she might be more comfortable in general seating. Josephina's smile cracked. Wife? The crowd thickened. Phones came out. Someone started recording. Ralph stood frozen, his hand still on Josephina's arm, his eyes on Penny. Calculation behind his gaze. Fear. Penny watched him. Gave him 5 seconds. 10. 15. Say something, she thought. Defend me. Choose me. Acknowledge me. Ralph cleared his throat. Penny, this is unexpected. That was all. No, my wife. No, what are you doing to her, Sally? No protection. No courage. Just uncomfortable acknowledgement. Josephina pulled her hand away from Ralph like he'd burned her. You're married? You told me you were separated. Filing for divorce. It's complicated. Ralph stammered. Complicated? Penny's voice stayed quiet. Deadly quiet. We've been married for 3 years. That's not complicated. That's a lie. Sally turned to the growing crowd, playing to them. This is highly inappropriate. Ralph, you need to handle your situation. This is a black tie gala, not Jerry Springer. She snapped her fingers. Jeffrey. Jeffrey Ayala approached. 52 years old. Ex-army. Used to following orders without question. But his eyes met Penny's. Something in them wavered. Jeffrey, escort this woman to the exit. She's causing a disturbance. Share this video if you've ever been called a disturbance for simply existing in spaces that I'm causing a disturbance? Penny's voice rose slightly, still controlled, but anger leaked through the edges. I walked in peacefully. You're the one making a scene. You walked into a private event where you don't belong. Sally's voice climbed higher. Do you have any idea what it costs to be here? What kind of people are members of Cherokee Town and Country Club? You can't just show up because you married your way into a family. The crowd gasped. Phones pointed from multiple angles, recording everything. Mitch stepped forward. Mrs. Rose, you need to stop talking. Right now. Sally whirled on him. Mr. Olson, I apologize that you have to witness this, but surely you understand we must maintain certain standards. Standards? Mitch's voice could have frozen fire. What standards are those exactly? Sally realized her mistake. She'd challenged a billionaire donor, but pride wouldn't let her back down. The standards that have made Cherokee Town and Country Club prestigious for over 80 years. Standards that ensure our members feel comfortable and safe. Safe from what? Penny asked. From a doctor who saves lives, or from a black woman who doesn't know her place? The word hung there. Black. The thing nobody wanted to say out loud, but everyone was thinking. Sally's face flushed. How dare you make this about race? Then tell me. Penny's voice stayed steady as a surgeon's hand. What exactly did I do wrong? I arrived with a member. I dressed appropriately. I've been nothing but polite. So what's the real problem, Sally? Sally's mouth opened, closed, opened again. You don't fit, and you know it. Ralph knows it. That's why he's kept you hidden for 3 years. The cruelty rippled through the crowd. Then a voice cut through, cold, patrician, carrying 70 years of Buckhead authority. What in God's name is happening here? Claire Bauer, Ralph's mother, 71 years old, navy Chanel, pearls at her throat, steel in her spine. The crowd parted like Moses through the Red Sea. She looked at Ralph with Josephina, at Penny standing alone, at Sally with Jeffrey hovering nearby, at Mitch Olson, whose expression promised consequences. Ralph Arthur Leonard, her voice could strip paint. Is this your wife? Ralph couldn't meet his mother's eyes. Yes, ma'am. And is this young woman on your arm your wife? No, ma'am. Then why in the name of all that's holy are you standing there like a guilty dog, while Sally tries to throw your wife out of this venue? At the edge of the crowd, Whitney Orr held up her phone, recording. Instagram Live. The viewer count climbed. 8,000, 10,000, 12,000. Sally started. Claire, you were just what? Humiliating your friend's daughter-in-law in front of 300 witnesses being filmed by. She looked around. What I count as at least 40 phones. Claire walked to Penny, looked at her properly for the first time in 3 years. Child, I owe you an apology. Penny's voice stayed steady. You owe me more than that. I know, Claire said quietly. But it's a start. Before Claire could continue, another voice boomed from the entrance. Sally, what the hell is going on? Senator Tim Castro, Sally's husband, 58, silver hair, expensive suit, campaign smile dying as he took in the scene. The phones, the crowd, the disaster unfolding in real time. Sally's hands shook. Tim, I was just handling. You were just destroying my career. His voice was ice. Whitney's phone showed 15,000 viewers now. Comments exploding. The video being shared thousands of times per minute. Sally looked at her phone. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Her face everywhere. The clip of her saying, "You don't fit," spreading like wildfire. Her world was crumbling, but she couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop. Too much pride, too much hate, too far gone. She turned to Penny, eyes wild, voice shaking. Fine. You want the truth? She looked around at the crowd, at the cameras, at the 15,000 people watching live. She doesn't belong here because she's... Don't. Mitch's voice was a warning. Sally ignored him, stepped forward, grabbed Penny's arm, fingers digging in, trying to drag her toward the door. Get out of my event. Get out. The cameras captured everything, every finger, every pull, every second of a white woman in diamonds physically assaulting a black woman in front of thousands. Mitch moved, but Penny stopped him with a look. She let Sally pull her. Let the cameras see it. Let 15,000 viewers watch in real time. Sally managed 3 steps before her hand slipped, and Penny spoke. Quiet, clear, devastating. That's assault, Sally, on camera, with 15,000 witnesses. Sally's face went from red to white. Mitch smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Thank you, Mrs. Rose. That's exactly what I needed. He pulled out his phone, made a call, put it on speaker. If you've ever watched someone destroy themselves in real time, subscribe to Black Unmoved Gavel right now, because what happens next will shatter everything. Drop a comment if you know what's coming. Share this if you've ever been grabbed, pushed, or physically removed from spaces you had every right to occupy. Jennifer, it's Mitch. His voice carried across the ballroom. Every conversation stopped. Every eye turned. Did you hear all of that? A woman's voice came through the speaker. Crisp, professional. Every word, Mr. Olson. I've been on the line for 15 minutes. 27 witnesses on this call. All recorded. Perfect. Prepare the documents we discussed. Execute them within the hour. Yes, sir. Mitch hung up, looked at Sally. Now, Mrs. Rose, let me tell you about standards, and exactly who fits them. Sally's face went white. She'd just realized she'd said everything out loud, on camera, on a live stream, with witnesses, legal witnesses. Ralph finally understood too. His wife hadn't come alone. Hadn't come unprepared. She'd come with her brother, the billionaire, the one person in this room with more power than anyone else. And Sally had just handed him everything he needed. Claire looked at Mitch with new understanding, then at Penny. The calm on her face wasn't shock. It was strategy. "You planned this," Claire said quietly. "I gave them every chance to do the right thing," Penny replied. "They chose this." Mitch walked to the center of the room. The crowd parted. He gestured to someone at the AV booth. The large projection screen behind the stage flickered to life.
"I want to introduce my sister properly." His voice filled the Fox Theater. "Dr. Penny Morgan, cardiothoracic surgeon. She saved Governor Brian Kemp's chief of staff 3 months ago. Some of you may have read about it."
Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Recognition dawned on several faces. "But that's not why I'm introducing her." Mitch's voice carried absolute authority. "I'm introducing her because for 3 years she's been erased, hidden, treated like something shameful by the family she married into." Sally opened her mouth. Mitch held up a hand. "I'm not finished." Sally closed her mouth. "Penny is my half-sister. Same mother, different fathers. Our mother remarried David Olson when I was 14 and Penny was 7. David adopted both of us, gave us his name, built Olson Medical Corporation into what it is today." He tapped his phone. An image appeared on the screen, a corporate document. "When our father died 6 years ago, he left the company to both of us. I'm CEO. Penny owns 42% of all shares." Numbers appeared on screen. Olson Medical Corporation, total valuation, $5.1 billion. Someone in the crowd did the math out loud. 42% of 5.1 billion is 2.1 billion, Mitch finished. "My sister is worth $2.1 billion. The room erupted. Whispers, gasps, phones frantically updating social media. Ralph's face went gray. "What?" Penny looked at him. "I never told you. I wanted you to love me for me, not for money." "You're He couldn't finish. "A billionaire," Josephina said flatly, disgusted. "She's a billionaire and you hid her because she's black." The words hung in the air, truth stripped bare. Mitch changed the image on screen. New slides appeared. Professional, damning. Leonard and Associates Law Firm annual legal retainer, $9 million. Cherokee Town and Country Club annual donation, $18 million. Medical outreach program and facility maintenance. Senator Tim Castro campaign, political contributions via Olson Foundation, $4.2 million. Tim Castro grabbed the edge of a table. His knuckles went white. A final slide appeared. Total annual investment in Rose Castro Leonard Network, $31 million. Mitch let that number sit. Let it breathe. Let everyone in the room understand exactly what was at stake. Sally found her voice. It came out thin, desperate. "Mr. Olson, we've always appreciated Olson Medical Corporation's generosity." "Generosity," Mitch smiled. "No warmth. Is that what you call it? While you physically assaulted the donor's sister on camera." He pulled out his phone, dialed, put it on speaker. "Jennifer, still there?" "Yes, Mr. Olson." "Execute the terminations. All 3 contracts, effective immediately." The Fox Theater went silent. You could hear hearts breaking, careers ending, empires crumbling. If you're still watching, drop a comment right now, because what happens next is the fall. Subscribe to Black Unmoved Gavel if you believe consequences should be real. Mitch walked to the center of the ballroom. Every eye followed him. The crowd sensed something coming, something massive. "I want to tell you about my sister." His voice filled the Fox Theater, clear, commanding. "Dr. Penny Morgan, cardiothoracic surgeon at Piedmont Hospital. She saved 247 lives in her career. Last month, she operated on Governor Kemp's chief of staff. 16-hour surgery. The man is alive because of her skill." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some recognized the story from news reports. "But that's not why I'm telling you this." Mitch paused. Let the silence build. "I'm telling you because my sister has been married to Ralph Leonard for 3 years. 3 years of holidays spent alone. 3 years of being hidden. 3 years of being treated like a secret, like something shameful." He gestured to someone at the AV booth. The massive projection screen behind the stage flickered to life.
Penny is my half-sister. Same mother, different fathers. Our mother remarried David Olson when I was 14. David adopted both of us. Built Olson Medical Corporation from a single clinic into what it is today. A corporate document appeared on screen. Clean, professional, devastating. Olson Medical Corporation ownership structure. When our father died 6 years ago, he left the company to both of us equally. Mitch's voice was steady. I serve as CEO. Penny owns 42% of all shares. The next slide appeared. Olson Medical Corporation, current valuation, $5.1 billion. The math hit the room like a physical force. 42% of $5.1 billion. Mitch let it hang there. That's $2.142 billion. My sister is worth over $2 billion. Silence. Absolute silence. Ralph's face drained of all color. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Josephina stared at him with undisguised horror. You're married to a billionaire. I didn't. Ralph couldn't form words. Penny's voice cut through. Quiet. Sad. I never told you because I wanted you to love me for me, not for what I was worth. But Ralph still couldn't finish a sentence. A black woman, Penny said. That mattered more to you than anything else. Even $2 billion couldn't make you proud enough to claim me publicly. Mitch changed the slide. The next image made several people gasp. Olson Medical Corporation, Strategic Partnerships and Investments. Leonard and Associates Law Firm, Annual Legal Retainer. $9 million. 12 hospitals, malpractice defense, contract law, mergers and acquisitions. Kent Boone, the senior partner, grabbed the back of a chair. His knuckles went white. Next slide. Cherokee Town and Country Club annual donation, $18 million. Medical outreach program, facility maintenance, community health initiatives. Sean Banks made a choking sound. $18 million. More than a third of the club's entire operating budget. Senator Tim Castro campaign political contributions, Olson Foundation, $4,200,000. Current election cycle. Tim Castro, who'd walked out minutes ago, was suddenly visible at the doorway. He'd stopped, turned. His face showed he was doing the math, understanding what he'd just lost by divorcing Sally in public. The final slide appeared. Total annual investment, Rose Castro Leonard Network, $31,200,000. Mitch let that number breathe. Let it sink in. Let everyone in the Fox Theater understand exactly what Sally had just destroyed by grabbing Penny's arm. Mrs. Rose, Mitch said quietly, you assaulted a woman worth $2.1 billion. A woman whose company keeps your husband's campaign alive, your club operational, and your social circle employed. Sally's hands trembled. She looked at the screen, at the numbers, at her entire world quantified in dollars she'd just set on fire. Mr. Olson, her voice cracked. We've always valued our partnership. Partnership. Mitch pulled out his phone, dialed, put it on speaker. Jennifer, are you still on the line? Yes, Mr. Olson. Execute the contract terminations, all 3, effective immediately. Wait, Sean Banks lurched forward. Mr. Olson, please. Leonard and Associates. Jennifer's voice came through, crisp and final. Legal retainer terminated. $9 million annually. Effective 11:47 p.m., December 14th, 2024. Kent Boone's face went gray. Cherokee Town and Country Club. Charitable donation terminated. $18 million annually, effective immediately. Sean Banks sank into a chair. Senator Tim Castro campaign. Political contributions terminated. $4.2 million this cycle, effective immediately. Tim Castro disappeared from the doorway. Gone. Total financial disengagement, Jennifer continued. Olson Medical Corporation severs all ties with Rose Castro Leonard Network. $31.2 million in annual commitments terminated. Mitch hung up. The Fox Theater was silent except for Sally's breathing. Fast, panicked. The sound of a woman watching everything collapse. Ralph stood frozen, fired from his firm. His wife a billionaire he'd hidden. His mother staring at him with undisguised shame. Penny looked around the ballroom, at the faces that had watched her humiliation, at the phones that had recorded everything. I gave you all a chance, she said quietly. Every single one of you had a choice. You chose this.
Whitney Orr's phone showed 28,000 live viewers. The comments were on fire. And somewhere in Atlanta, the news outlets were already writing headlines about the most. Ralph stood in the center of the ballroom, alone. Everyone had taken a step back, creating distance, making sure they weren't associated with the man who'd just lost everything. Kent Boone's voice carried across the marble floor. Ralph Leonard, you are terminated from Leonard and Associates, effective this moment. Mr. Boone, Ralph's voice cracked. I can explain. Explain what? Boone stepped closer. His face was carved from stone. That you hid a $2.1 billion conflict of interest for 3 years? That you didn't disclose your wife owns 42% of our largest client? That you've been billing hours on Olson medical cases while married to a major shareholder? I didn't know she was. You didn't know? Boone's laugh was vicious. You didn't know your own wife's net worth? That's not a defense, Ralph. That's proof you treated her like she didn't matter enough to know. Ralph looked around wildly. For support, for sympathy. He found neither. Josephina stood 10 feet away, arms crossed, disgust written across every feature. You told me you were divorced. You showed me papers, documents. Were those fake? Ralph said nothing. Oh my God. Josephina's voice dropped. You forged divorce papers. That's fraud. That's... She pulled out her phone. I'm calling my attorney right now, and the state bar, and the police. She walked away, heels clicking against marble. Final. Done. Ralph turned to his mother. Mom, please. Claire Bauer looked at her son like she'd never seen him before. I raised you better than this. You knew about Penny. You never invited her to anything. I know. Claire's voice broke. I failed her. And I failed you by teaching you that hiding her was acceptable. She looked at Penny. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough, Penny said quietly. Claire nodded, pulled out her phone, made a call right there. James, it's Claire Bauer. I'm resigning from the Cherokee Town and Country Club Board, effective tonight. She hung up, made another call. I'm withdrawing from the Woodruff Arts Center Board and the High Museum Board. Every position where I enabled what happened here. Sally stood near the Champagne Tower, alone, her phone in her hand, scrolling through social media. Her face went from red to white to gray. Twitter was exploding. Hashtag Atlanta Gala racism. Hashtag Sally Rose. Hashtag Fox Theater scandal. Her face was everywhere. Screenshots, video clips. The moment she grabbed Penny's arm playing on loop. Thousands of shares, millions of views. Someone had already created a Wikipedia page. Sally Rose racism incident. Whitney Orr's voice cut through. We're at 40,000 live viewers. This is the most watched stream I've ever done. She turned the camera towards Sally. Mrs. Rose, do you have anything to say? Sally looked up, saw the camera. Saw 40,000 people watching. Her mouth opened, nothing came out. Kent Boone made an announcement to the remaining guests. Tonight's gala is concluded. Please, exit through the main doors. People scattered. No one wanted to be here anymore. No one wanted their face associated with this disaster. Ralph tried one more time, walked toward Penny. Baby, we can fix this. We can. No, Penny said. We can't. I love you. You love the version you could hide. You never loved me. The ballroom emptied. Within minutes, only a handful remained. Penny and Mitch, Sally and her shattered pride.
Ralph and his destroyed career. Claire and her painful reckoning. Outside, the real consequences were just beginning. If you're still here, drop a comment. Share this, because what happens next is the system falling. Subscribe to Black Unmoved Gavel for justice. The main doors opened. Attorney General Marcella Henson entered. 2 Georgia State Patrol officers flanked her. 53. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. She'd been watching Whitney Orr's Instagram live from her car on Peachtree Street. Badge out. Expression carved from granite. Sally Rose. Sally's head snapped up. Yes? I'm Attorney General Marcella Henson. We need to discuss what happened here tonight. Sally grabbed the edge of a table. Her legs couldn't support her. I want an attorney. Smart. You'll need several. Marcella gestured to the officers. Mrs. Rose. Based on video evidence witnessed by 43,000 people, you are being charged with battery under Georgia Code 16-5-23, civil rights violations, and federal hate crime enhancements under 18 U.S.C.
249. I was enforcing club standards. You physically grabbed Dr. Morgan and attempted to remove her based on race. That's not standards. That's a crime. Marcella played a clip on her phone. Sally's voice rang out clear. She doesn't belong here because she's… You want to finish that sentence for the record? Sally said nothing. Officers will contact you within 48 hours for booking. Don't leave Georgia. Marcella turned to Sean Banks. Mr. Banks, my office is opening a federal investigation into Cherokee Town and Country Club. Every membership application, for 15 years. Every rejection, every approval vote. Sean's face drained. We operate within the law. Then you'll have no problem with federal oversight. Marcella's smile was ice. If we find discrimination patterns, this club loses its tax-exempt status, liquor license, and operating permits. I've already spoken to Judge Patricia Morrison. She's signing an emergency order for immediate federal oversight. Sean couldn't speak. Cassie Carlson, Fox Theater's event director, appeared from backstage, shaking. Attorney General, we had no knowledge of discriminatory practices. Your rental contracts will be reviewed. If the Fox Theater knowingly hosted discriminatory events, there will be consequences. Marcella's phone buzzed. She read the screen, looked at Sean. Judge Morrison just signed. Cherokee Town and Country Club is under federal oversight, effective 11:54 p.m. All membership decisions, financial transactions, and board votes require federal approval until investigation concludes. The board resignation started immediately. Renee Briggs, vice president, emailed his resignation at 12:08 a.m. Tom Duffy, treasurer, resigned at 12:15 a.m. Clint Barnard, membership chair, resigned at 12:22 a.m. By 1 a.m., 9 of 13 board members had abandoned ship. But while Sally's world burned, Penny's was being rewritten. At 12:47 a.m., Dr. Marcus Hayes called, director of the American College of Cardiology. Dr. Morgan, I just saw what happened. On behalf of the ACC, I want to formally apologize for every barrier you've faced. And I want to offer you our humanitarian award for 2025. Penny sat in Mitch's car outside the Fox Theater, exhausted. Dr. Hayes, I don't need awards. The medical community needs to see this. Needs to see that brilliance and dignity win. His voice was firm. The ceremony is in March. National coverage. Please accept. She looked at Mitch. He nodded. I accept. At 1:23 a.m., the National Organization for Women issued a statement. Dr. Penny Morgan's courage exposes the intersection of racism and domestic emotional abuse. For 3 years, her husband hid her, erased her, denied her basic dignity. This is violence. This matters. By 2:00 a.m., hashtag Justice for Penny was trending, alongside hashtag Atlanta Gala Racism. At 6 a.m., the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence called. Dr. Morgan, we'd like you to speak at our annual conference about emotional abuse in marriage, about being erased by someone who claimed to love you. Penny was standing in her Ansley Park home, still in the burgundy gown. She hadn't slept. When? February. We'll pay your speaking fee, $50,000. But more importantly, survivors need to hear your story. She accepted. Meanwhile, Senator Tim Castro's career was ending in real time. His campaign manager called at 11:52 p.m. Senator, Olson Medical terminated $4.2 million in contributions. 3 other major donors just pulled out. Total loss, $7.8 million. We're done. By midnight, CNN ran the story. Georgia senator's wife charged in racist assault at Atlanta Gala. By 12:30 a.m., his primary opponent demanded he withdraw from the race. By 1:15 a.m., the Georgia Democratic Party released a statement. We cannot support candidates whose families engage in hate crimes. At 1:47 a.m., Tim Castro filed for divorce. Emergency petition. The document cited irreparable reputational harm caused by spouse's criminal conduct. He took everything. The house on West Paces Ferry Road, the Mercedes, the vacation home in Hilton Head, the investment accounts. Sally was left with legal bills and a trial date. Ralph Leonard sat in the empty Fox Theater lobby. Security had told him to leave. He couldn't move. His phone buzzed constantly. Kent Boone's firm-wide email at 12:04 a.m. Ralph Leonard terminated for ethics violations and undisclosed conflicts of interest. Do not hire. State Bar of Georgia opened an investigation at 12:18 a.m. Formal complaint filed by Josephina Olson. Fraud, misrepresentation, forged documents. By 6 a.m., 3 other women came forward, all claiming Ralph had shown them fake divorce papers, all claiming relationships while he was married. His law license was suspended at 8 a.m. By 9 a.m., Leonard and Associates lost 2 additional clients, both citing ethical concerns. Total damage to the firm, $14 million in annual revenue. Cherokee Town and Country Club faced extinction. Without Olson Medical's $18 million, they couldn't cover operations, staff salaries, maintenance, insurance premiums. Member resignations flooded in. 81 in the first week. Property values dropped 34% overnight. The club was finished. But Penny Morgan was just beginning. At 7 a.m., she received a call from Spelman College. Dr. Morgan, we'd like you to deliver our commencement address. And we're creating the Penny Morgan Scholarship for students who've overcome systemic barriers. Full ride, $250,000 endowment. At 9 a.m., Emory University Hospital called. We want you on our board. We want to learn from what happened. Make sure it never happens here. At 11 a.m., the NAACP Legal Defense Fund reached out. We're filing a class action lawsuit against Cherokee Town and Country Club on behalf of every black applicant rejected in the past 15 years. Will you be our lead plaintiff? Penny looked at Mitch. Yes, she said, I will. If you've ever been told you don't belong, comment below right now. If you've ever been hidden by someone who claimed to love you, share this video. Subscribe to Black Unmoved Gavel, because Penny's fight isn't over. It's expanding. And what she does next will change everything. But here's what nobody saw coming. At 2 p.m. that afternoon, Ralph Leonard showed up at Penny's door, on his knees, begging. And what Penny said to him became the most shared quote of the year. Will she forgive him? Will she destroy him? Or will she do something nobody expected? Drop your prediction in the comments, because the story you think you know is about to flip completely. 6 months later. The federal courthouse on Ted Turner Drive was packed, media in the back rows, victims of Sally's discrimination filling the gallery. Penny sat in front, calm, present, witnessing. The prosecution presented their case over 4 weeks, 63 pieces of evidence, 22 witnesses, statistical analysis showing clear patterns of racial discrimination at Cherokee Town and Country Club stretching back 12 years. Sally's defense attorney tried everything. My client was maintaining institutional standards, not discriminating based on race. The prosecutor held up a tablet, played the video. Sally's voice filled the courtroom. She doesn't belong here because she's black. How is that not racial discrimination? The defense had no answer. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty on all counts. Judge Maria Santos looked at Sally Rose. Mrs. Rose, you used your position to systematically exclude people based on race. You physically assaulted Dr. Morgan on camera. You caused harm to dozens of families, and you've shown no remorse. Sally sat stone-faced, no tears, no apology. The court sentences you to 20 months in federal prison, followed by 4 years supervised release. You will complete 600 hours of community service at civil rights organizations. You are permanently barred from holding leadership positions in any private club or nonprofit for 15 years. The gavel came down. Sally Rose was led out in handcuffs. The civil trial moved faster. Penny's lawsuit sought damages for emotional distress, reputational harm, and civil rights violations. 12 other victims joined the class action. The jury awarded Penny $4.1 million. The other 12 victims received $350,000 each. Total damages, $8.3 million. Cherokee Town and Country Club declared bankruptcy 3 weeks later, but Penny wasn't finished. She testified before the Georgia legislature in March. Committee Room 450. Cameras rolling. Legislators listening. Discrimination doesn't end because one person goes to prison. It ends when systems change, when laws have teeth, when silence stops protecting the wrong people. Her testimony was broadcast statewide. 2 months later, Georgia passed the Dignity in Private Institutions Act. New requirements for clubs claiming tax-exempt status. Mandatory diversity reporting. Federal oversight for repeated violations. Real consequences for discrimination. The bill passed 94 to 86. Governor signed it into law in May. Penny and Mitch established the Morgan Olson Justice Fund in June. $60 million initial endowment. Mission: full scholarships for minority students pursuing medicine, law, and public service. The first class, 150 students. Full rides to medical school, no debt, no barriers. The ceremony was held at Spelman College. Penny stood at the podium, looking at 150 faces, black, brown, every shade. Future doctors who wouldn't face what she faced. You belong everywhere, she told them. In operating rooms, in boardrooms. In spaces that were never meant for us. Don't let anyone make you small. Don't let anyone erase you. Standing ovation, 3 minutes long. Ralph Leonard wasn't there. He'd been disbarred in February, divorced in March, working as a paralegal now, making $48,000 a year. He'd sent a letter. Penny never opened it. Some apologies come too late. Subscribe to Black Unmoved Gavel if you believe systems must change, not just individuals. Comment the name of someone who deserves a scholarship like this. 1 year later, Dr. Penny Morgan stood at the podium in the King Center's main auditorium. Behind her, photographs of Dr. King lined the walls. His words etched in bronze: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Before her, 150 scholarship recipients sat in the audience. The first Morgan Olson Justice Fund scholars. Black, brown, Asian, indigenous, future doctors, future lawyers, future changemakers. Penny wore navy, simple, professional. The woman who'd worn burgundy to a gala now wore the armor of quiet authority. "A year ago," she began, "I walked into the Fox Theater expecting to be humiliated. I was. But I also walked in expecting to be silent about it. That's where I was wrong." The auditorium was silent except for her voice. Change doesn't happen because bad people suddenly become good. It happens because we refuse to stay silent. Because we document. Because we demand accountability. She gestured to the screen behind her. A news headline appeared. Cherokee Town and Country Club reopens under new leadership. 35% minority membership after federal restructuring. The club that tried to erase me no longer exists. Not the way it was. Federal oversight forced complete restructuring. New board, new policies, new membership. Next slide, a photograph. Claire Bauer testifying before Congress. Ralph's mother, Claire, testified before the House Judiciary Committee about how wealth enables discrimination, how silence becomes complicity. She lost half her friends, but she can sleep now. Penny paused. Let that sit. Some of you come from families that didn't believe in you. Some were told you don't belong in medicine. Some were hidden, diminished, made small by people who claimed to love you. Heads nodded throughout the auditorium. I want you to know something. Your value isn't in your degrees or your bank accounts. You are worthy simply because you exist. Never let anyone make you prove your humanity. She clicked to the next slide. A prison photograph. Sally Rose in orange. No makeup, no diamonds, no power. Sally Rose is serving 20 months in federal prison. Last month, a reporter interviewed her, asked if she understood what she'd done wrong. Penny's voice was steady. She said she was protecting traditions. Still doesn't believe she's racist. Still doesn't understand. A few people in the audience shook their heads. Some people never learn. But that's not why we fight. We fight so the next generation doesn't have to. Next slide. Ralph Leonard's disbarment notice from the State Bar of Georgia. Ralph was disbarred in February, divorced in March. He works as a paralegal now. Makes $48,000 a year. He sent me a letter 6 months ago. I never opened it. She looked directly at the audience. Some apologies come too late. Some betrayals can't be undone. And that's okay. Forgiveness isn't required for you to move forward. Final slide. Olson Medical Corporation, new leadership structure. Co-CEOs, Mitchell Olson and Dr. Penny Morgan. Last month, I became co-CEO of Olson Medical Corporation. I'm using that position to change how healthcare is delivered in underserved communities. 15 new clinics opening this year, all in predominantly black and brown neighborhoods. She stepped from behind the podium, closer to the students. You're here because someone believed systems could change, because someone refused to stay silent. Now it's your turn. What will you do with this opportunity? How will you use your education to lift others? A young woman in the third row raised her hand. Dr. Morgan, what do you say to people who still don't think we belong in spaces like this? Penny smiled. I don't say anything to them. I say something to you. You belong everywhere, in operating rooms, in boardrooms, in spaces that were never designed for us. And when they try to remove you, make sure the cameras are rolling. The auditorium erupted in applause. Outside the King Center, Penny walked through the Rose Garden, past the Eternal Flame, past the reflecting pool where Dr. King and Coretta Scott King are entombed. Mitch waited by the car. How'd it go? Good, they're ready. Ready for what? To change everything. They drove through Sweet Auburn, past Ebenezer Baptist Church, past the birth home on Auburn Avenue, past the places where history was made by people who refused to accept their assigned place. Penny looked out the window at Atlanta, her city, changed by one night, one decision, one refusal to stay hidden. If you're watching this and you've been told you don't belong, comment below. If you've been hidden, erased, or made invisible, share this story. Subscribe to Black Unmoved Gavel, because the fight for dignity never ends. It just changes shape. Tag someone who needs to hear this, because somewhere, someone is deciding whether to stay silent or speak up.
And your comment might be what tips the scale.
Penny Morgan returned to the Fox Theater 1 year after the gala. Calm, composed, no cameras this time, no crowd. Just an anniversary event for the Morgan Olson Justice Fund. Small gathering, 50 people. Scholarship recipients, board members, people who mattered. She walked through the grand ballroom where everything had happened. The same chandeliers, the same marble floors, the same space where Sally Rose had grabbed her arm and changed both their lives forever. But everything felt different now. The Fox Theater staff straightened when she passed, not from fear, from recognition. She'd proven that dignity wasn't negotiable. After the event, Penny drove to Jackson Street Bridge, parked, stood on the overlook where Atlanta's skyline rose before her. Downtown connector snaking through the city. Bank of America Plaza, piercing the clouds. The city that had tried to erase her now spread out like a promise. Mitch joined her, stood beside his sister without speaking. You thinking about that night? He finally asked. Always, Penny's voice was quiet, but not with anger anymore, with clarity. What kind of clarity? The kind that knows silence protects the wrong people. Always has, always will. She turned to face him. For 3 years I stayed quiet, let Ralph hide me, let his family pretend I didn't exist. I told myself it was patience. It was actually fear. And now? Now I know that speaking up wasn't just about me. It was about every person who comes after. Every scholarship recipient who won't face what I faced. Every couple where one partner tries to hide the other. The sun was setting behind them, casting Atlanta in gold and shadow. Sally's still in prison, Mitch said, still telling anyone who'll listen that she did nothing wrong. Some people never learn, but the system learned. That's what matters. When you see someone standing firm, acting with dignity, or speaking truth, treat them with respect. Not because of power, influence, or fear, but because it's simply the right thing to do. Sally Rose, Tim Castro, and Ralph Leonard thought they had control that night at the Fox Theater. They were humbled, outmaneuvered, and exposed in ways they never expected. That is the lesson arrogance always forgets. Penny didn't just win. She quietly dismantled the opposition with strategy, patience, and adherence to principle, leaving the outcome irreversible. 3 careers ended. 1 club bankrupted. 1 system reformed. $31 million in contracts terminated. $8.3 million in damages awarded. $60 million scholarship fund established. 150 lives changed forever. The Fox Theater Gala became legend. Now, I have to ask you, what struck you most in this story? Was it Sally grabbing Penny's arm on camera? The $31 million in terminated contracts? Or Penny's strategic patience in planning everything? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. If this story captivated you, Hit the like button. It helps Black Unmoved Gavel grow and shows you want more stories like this. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Because next time, we have a story about a Black cardiac surgeon who was mistaken for janitorial staff in her own hospital. Until a code blue was called and she was the only one who could save the patient's life. What the hospital administrator did next will leave you speechless. You do not want to miss it. Until next time, stay aware, treat others with dignity, and never underestimate the quiet power of integrity. The story may have ended, but the impact continues. Every reflection, discussion, and choice you make spreads accountability further. Comment your thoughts. Share this with someone who's been told they don't belong. Tag a person who needs to see what real consequences look like. Stay part of the community that refuses to ignore injustice. Subscribing isn't passive. It's a commitment to seeing, reflecting, and acting. At Black Unmoved Gavel, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next voice of the Unmoved Gavel, because systems only change when we refuse to stay silent. Penny Morgan refused, and everything changed.